everybody, this is Skeet, aka
Mark.
Remy 300 with all the X's.
Yeah, I don't have all that, but my name's Moshmen Mikey over here.
We
As on
are.
X, it is too, Moshmen Mikey. So
Alright. I'm still messing with stuff. So, how
yeah,
was your week, Mikey?
oh, same old kind of stuff, but just a bit busy week. Been a pretty busy week as far as music goes. You're trying to keep up with everything and keep up with the Joneses. It's been quite interesting developments all week long, really.
Yeah.
We'll have a lot to talk about as far as good and bad. There's a lot of good and a couple bad things, but one just broke yesterday, and I'll talk about that after we get past the. We got to get past the gloom and doom first,
Yeah.
since we did have some celebrity related deaths over the week. Dolly Parton's not really a rock star, but she's a pretty iconic person.
Yeah.
And her husband died. They were together about 60 years, so that's pretty tough. He was kind of back in the back, never was a public figure, but 60 years, man. I mean, they must have had something good. And he was like 82, so good life, I take it. But yeah, just it's sad. And the other death was kind of a surprising one. It was on a rock and roll cruise ship. And this was Tammy Down from Faster Pussycat.
Yeah.
His fiance went overboard at one of their cruise show ships, whatever it was. And it was an 80s themed cruise.
Yeah, I heard. I heard all about
She
that.
looked like she was probably our age. I didn't get
Yeah.
the age on her, but Eddie Trunk reported that the other day. So yeah, that's the two bad things I had, or death related items I had. I don't know. Do you have any more death related content for
No,
the day?
I, uh, I saw where Ricky Rackman made a statement on Facebook. He put a video up, so I'm not exactly sure where he put that up at. So
Okay. Yeah. I didn't see that. I didn't see anything from Ricky Rackman, but uh,
he kind of made a statement that she kind of on her own.
oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be.
So
Could
I
be.
didn't want to really talk too much about it because I don't. You know what I mean? I don't know what the
Yeah.
hell.
Yeah. I know that they said the report I seen was that they had a pretty heated argument before that, and then it happened. So yeah, it sounds like it could have been a mistake, an anger mistake, but unfortunately, you can't come back from that one. So
Yeah.
it's still sad. It's still sad, regardless. And the one I got yesterday, music related, kind of sadness for me. I don't listen to these guys a lot, but I listen to them enough. And some of their songs are pretty. I was looking forward to seeing them last year, didn't get to, but Mastodon, they have parted ways with Brett Hines after 25 years in the band.
Really?
So yeah, that's I know they were doing like a 40-year anniversary, I thought.
Yeah.
And yeah, after 20, he's been in for 25 years. It didn't go into why they parted ways. They just, sometimes things don't work out. I don't know if he didn't want to tour, or, it could be anything. So I don't want to speculate on it too much that, it was him. It sounded like they parted ways means that he got fired to me.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like from my point of view, but could be the furthest thing from the truth. But that's what the report I got was. They just parted ways with him. But Mastodon's still touring. They're still doing stuff. So it must be they knew it was coming. Apparently. Yeah, but 25 years and same gig. I mean, I kind of know how that feels. It's like
Oh yeah.
it's bulk of his life because they're probably our age. I'm assuming Mastodon's close to our age, or maybe even a little younger. I don't know. I'd say they're probably a little older actually if they've been out for 40 years. That's just my thinking.
Okay. Well,
Another big well, they had all kinds of I got all kinds of tour announcements to go on, but the one big one has gotten a lot of attention. Is one band I should say is Ghost right now.
oh yeah, yeah.
They're bringing out Papa Five, and he looks like a pretty evil Papa Five. Back to the old. Looks like it's gonna. This from the pictures they've shown, it's gonna be back to the old Pope looking stuff. Not just the guy with a mask on, but the whole Pope get up. Kind of
Yeah.
what it looks like. And they've got a new video that I watched. It's called Satanized, which I don't know if it's a shtick for them or not, but and I mean the song wasn't bad. It's typical Ghost. It's not heavy at all, and but it's very catchy. It seems to be Ghost mo. And they're gonna call this guy Papa Five Perpetua. That's gonna be his name.
Okay.
That's Tobias Forgay, of course, or how people call him Tobias Forge and Tobias Forgay or whatever, how they pronounce it over there. So they're going to have an album called Skeleta that comes out on the 25th of April. So they'll be on tour. They're going to have a full tour book from what I've saw social media. So there you go for Ghost fans. That's pretty big news. They get new Ghost material, new Ghost Papa, and a new tour. The
Nice.
Boys of Ghost. A couple other tours came out this week that I was interested in.
Okay.
A big one coming to our area even is Volbeat. A lot of you either love Volbeat or you hate them, but opening acts for what got me, it was Hailstorm and the Ghost Inside, who I think very highly of as a hardcore band. And that's a like a very diverse lineup because Volbeat's more straight up. Of course, Hailstorm's the melodic rock with Lizzie being the main attraction there, and the Ghost Inside being hardcore. So it's kind of a different lineup, and it sounds interesting. It does. It sounds very interesting, and I don't know how long this tour is going to last. It didn't look like a lot of dates because I know Hailstorm's going out with Iron Maiden at some point, but I also know that Iron Maiden is not doing anything right now because Bruce Dickinson is on his first or getting ready to start his first U.S. tour in some 20 years as a solo act. So, yeah, a lot of shows, a lot of good tours. There's a Kill Switch Engage is out now with a pretty good lineup. They got Fit for a King opening for them. I've seen them; they're very good. So that'll be a good show. And of course, we can hit on it a little bit if you want, but the Louder Than Life lineup
Yeah.
is huge. It is huge this year down in Louisville. And 160 bands this year. More than I would have ever imagined could be at a festival. So it's a shit ton, including one one band that is only doing one show in the United States this year. And it happens to be Sleep Token, who I'm looking very forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of bands at this thing that it's going to be it's going to be a good 4 days, man. I tell you, it's action packed on my side. Oh, we got Hood Billy. Hood Billy. I can't see the last name. But what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, what's up? Snake!
Is that Snake? Is that who
Yep,
it
that's
is?
Snake.
Okay. But yeah, all the festivals are pretty well packed out this year. But I don't know that anybody's going to compete with this one. I mean, they have 13 reunion sets, 13 full album plays, like 25 one-off shows from bands, and some that haven't played in 20 years in the United States. And there's been people that haven't played in Kentucky in over a decade. So the downfall of that for me was Hailstorm for the first time is not going to be at Louder Than Live.
Oh,
It went
really?
10 straight years, yeah. But they're busy. I mean, they're on tour with Volbeat, and they turn around and going to be on tour with Iron Maiden, so they're busy anyway. But some of the shows at this thing, other than Slayer's coming back because they didn't get to come last year, Down is going to be here, and
Oh,
that's
no
going to be
shit.
a big one. That's a huge one for me. It's incredibly Cavalera is going to be there doing all their Sepultura and Soulfly stuff, and Rob Zombie's going to play Astro Creep 2000 in its entirety. Marilyn Manson, Cannibal Corpse, Exodus, My Girls and Boys and Not Enough Space. I mean, that's just part of day one. That's just part of day one. Yeah, the headliners though are Slayer on Thursday, Avenged Sevenfold headlines on Friday, the Deftones headlines on Saturday, and Bring Me the Horizon is the headliner for Sunday, the last band. So
Okay.
and so many good. You name a band that is heavier style right now, they're probably on this list. It's that impressive. Even some of the old school, like Breaking Benjamin's back, Evanescence is coming back. I
Wow.
mean, it's 3 Days Grace with the two singers. Now it's like that's going to be interesting. My Girls and Kitty are there. I mean, Dickinson. Hate Breed, you name it, man. For me, I'm in heaven. It's just unbelievable. Every genre of music that I love, and it's got a whole two two columns full of emo that I even make it better. It's like what I get to see some of these guys. Well, Kubla Khan's there. I wanted to see them, but like Neck Deep, State Champs, band I listened to back in the emo days. All going to be there. So yeah, I'm extremely looking forward to this year. Now, of course, my gender's not there. That's a little depressing, but Spirit Box is there. So that's one I missed last year that I'll get to see. Just with a whole shit ton of other people, man. It's like unbelievable lineup. So it's great. Oh yeah. So and I know you're going to a festival of your own, and that'll be cool. Even the one you're going Metallica headlining, right? Is that
Yes.
day you're going?
Yeah, we're doing Friday, so we're checking out the oh, it's over in Columbus. Sonic Temple.
So,
Sonic
Sonic
Temple.
Temple, yeah.
Yep.
A little closer drive. I wish I was kind of. Ours is about 3 hours. That ain't terrible. And yours is in a little better weather. So May in Ohio compared to late September because you never know what you're gonna get. You might even get
Yeah.
a fucking hurricane like I got last year. The hurricane kind of wiped me out one day, and then a bad Cuban sandwich took care of me for the other. So yeah, I didn't have the greatest experience, but I couldn't pass that line up. And it just it's probably going to be my last big festival of my life
Yeah.
because it's so action packed. It's like now there is this is one we talked about before, and I said it would be cool. Mayhem Festival, which I went to two of those back in the day.
Okay, where's that at?
That's it's a traveling festival, and they do
Oh,
one
okay.
day, and they haven't had it for years. And then last year they did one off show in California, and that was it. Well, the
Yeah.
guy that owns Mayhem Festival is now rebranding for 2025. He wants
Okay.
to call it Miss Mayhem and featuring exclusively female fronted band. I will be there if that happens
Nice.
because that's going to be all of them, and that I'm really hooked on right now. All the lead singers that are women that we just had talked about recently, and it's like, man, that'd be cool. I mean, I just hope to God they don't just do California and they bring it a little closer within the tri-state. I'd probably go no matter what, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough that it was a good festival, but man, it was only one day and there was like 80 bands. So you were hoofing it one stage to the next. So could be could be a good thing though. I mean, I had just said how I'd love to have all of them in one spot. I think I even said it was what Kitty, Ginger, and Spirit Box would be good enough for me. But man, add the rest of them. It's going to be outrageous if it happens. Pretty cool.
Nice.
Now,
All right.
Poppy's one of them too. She's a rising singer. She's going back on Jimmy Kimmel next week. That ought to be funny because they had the whole uproar about when she was on there with Knocked Loose,
Okay.
and people were calling into Jimmy Kimmel and saying, "How dare you have them on?" All they did was scream. They scared our kids and blah blah blah. So her going back on there is going to be interesting to see if she causes any ruckus, which I hope to God she does, because it's like it's a late night TV show. Why are your kids even watching Knocked Loose in the first place? And
Yeah.
if you didn't know what Knocked Loose sounded like, you got a reality check very quickly because they're not nice and polite music. Brutal. So yeah, that should be fun though. I mean, if you think about it, that'd be one of those. Could be a memorable night. Put it that
Yeah.
way.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm kind of trying to figure out what's going on here. I do not believe we are up on YouTube at this moment. So, oops.
Well, that's where I shared my link to.
Of
That's why.
course.
Yeah,
I'm
I
having
thought
problems, and yeah.
it'd be the easiest one for most people is YouTube. So it's like, oh well, it's whatever.
All right. So sorry, everybody out there, if you're watching on the dreaded YouTube. I'm having difficulties, so I am sorry. I apologize for that.
Well, it happens. Got I don't know how much you know about Ronnie Radke from Falling in Reverse. This guy likes to stir the shit pot. He's one of those guys,
Yeah.
He had went to prison years ago, and I mean he's not like I'm not saying nothing about that, but he was out of the light for a long time because he was a gone. Well, he came back to the same band, but boy, this guy always he talks smack about everybody. He's now in a big feud with the Red Hot Chili Peppers
Uh oh.
and Anthony Kiedis. I think it's about his. There was a performance they did with a guy named Brett Woods, and he was rambling about that. Then he got into his personal life about his very young girlfriend that he has, and so Radke he gets into it with anybody and everybody, but he's on the prowl again, and he is not afraid to confront anybody at any time. So we'll see if it gets any juicier with that. There's just so much of him I can take. I don't mind some of their music, but it's just he's an intentional pot stirrer,
Yeah.
And there's a time and a place for that, and it's no different than some of the some of the ridiculousness I do get and get should be called out on, like the Misfits. They had a singer, Michael Graves. He was the singer for a long time,
Okay.
and he was supposed to do a show in Texas, and it got canceled by the wonderful wokeness of Texas because he apparently has ties with the Proud Boys. Who gives a shit? I mean, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Because it's like all these liberals are can play anywhere at any time, and I don't see any MAGA people or even just conservatives running out there to cancel you out. Why is it? Because he might have some kind of a tie to these people.
Well, why does
And
it
he's
all have to be a
joking.
fucking protest all the time for everything?
I know.
Everything.
That's what I'm saying. You can't watch an award show without somebody saying something stupid. It's like I don't care about. I just don't want to hear about. If I'm watching a music award show, I don't really care about your politics. I
Yeah.
don't care. I have mine. You're going to have yours. We can call it a day. We can just
Yeah.
say, we're here to discuss the music awards. I don't need a speech about morality and about saving this or giving money to that or to not liking this dude, but you should love this one. It's like just take your award, say thank you to the people that supported me in my music career, and go on about your day. But they can't. Nobody seems to be able to do it, and it's not one sided. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, it's only the liberals that do it. No, it goes both ways.
Yeah. Exactly.
It always had, and
Well,
it's like,
the fucking music is you're supposed to kind of this is like neutral. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
Switzerland, or it's you go and you can have any view you want. And I know I'm being middle of the road here, but that
yeah. I
there
mean,
should be like a peace. Let's call for peace so we can all go and enjoy this concert. And if you want to go bitch about it, go do it when you're fucking home. Go, get on
yeah.
your
I mean,
social media and bitch about it. But can we just enjoy the fucking show? And that goes for anything. Can we just enjoy the fucking show, please?
yeah, I get it. I mean, music. If you really think about it, music is tied in with everything. We've already done like talked about
Yes.
sports before. It's tied in with movies and TV shows, and it's tied in with politics to an extent because people have their views and they might sing about it. But I'm just not about canceling people for it. If I don't like what they say, and if they challenge me with an ultimatum, like if you think this way, don't listen to my music, I'll gladly oblige you. But it doesn't mean I need to get on and rant about them every
Yeah.
time I get an open mic and say, "Oh, I hate this guy. He's a liberal," or "I hate this guy. He's a Trumper," or whatever, whichever way of the side of the fence you're on. Because until you bash on me for something I believe in, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I do not care. I don't care about religion, and I don't care about politics. If you're an atheist liberal, fine. But if you try to convince me that I should be an atheist liberal too, and in a music setting especially, no, I don't need that. It's like Christian metal. Everybody gets on them about how they preach. Guess what? It's called Christian metal. When you
Yeah,
walk
they
in the
kind of
door,
advertise that in the
yeah,
title,
that's a whole different ball game because you're going there knowing that they brand themselves Christian metal, so you might have to hear a little bit of what their testimony or whatever. But they're not going to go out in the crowd and stare at me and say, "You got to go to the altar right now, or we're not going to play anymore." If you give me
well,
that ultimatum, guess what's happening? I'm
that's
walking out, and they're going
yeah.
to. And I'm a Christian for I mean I have my Christian beliefs, but you don't have to shove anything down my throat. because I'm not going to buy into it. I just don't. And I think that some of these bands get a little carried away, and people in support of these bands get a little carried away. And it's both sides. It's like I said, you get people on the left doing it and people on the right doing it. Just let people listen to your music without judgment, without making a big deal about it, without having to fight for your political beliefs or your religious beliefs when you're trying to enjoy a freaking rock show. Just let it be.
Well,
And if you want to not listen to somebody because they're a Trumper or vote for Kamala, whatever, then just don't listen to it. But you
yeah.
don't have to tell me not to listen to it.
Well,
That's
it's common sense. It's common
well,
sense. If
a
you
lot of
go to see, for example, a Rage Against the Machine show, or say a Green Day show, you
yeah,
already know what kind of stuff they might sing about from the content. You already know it going
yeah,
in.
yeah, yeah,
So if you want to go to the show and pay for your ticket, go enjoy the show. I mean, I don't understand people protest it. Yeah, you can
yeah.
do that. It's your freedom to do that. But people want to go see a show. I don't want to be in the middle of a big debate over what. So what? They've got a different opinion than you. Enjoy the show or go to fuck home. It's
Yeah,
common sense. That's all it is.
yeah.
Common
I mean,
sense.
yeah, and you get these festivals like I was talking about. There's some bands that are going to be there that I don't particularly like how they talk about whatever politics or religion, whatever they want. Guess what? I don't have to listen to their set. I can just go somewhere else, listen to somebody else,
But you can
or
go to the
just
booth and get your T-shirts, or
yeah. I
just
had
have some
that last.
respect. Have a little
Yeah,
respect for a difference of opinion. That's kind of my big thing.
I
Even
mean
though we
last
don't
year.
line up.
Yeah, and last year I went to that big festival. Like a month and a half before the election. I thought there would be a lot more, but there was only a few. And guess what? I just brushed it off. It's like I'm not gonna start yelling at the guy who's on stage saying whatever he was saying I didn't agree with. It's just like, I might say under my breath, what a dumb fuck. Or, but I'm not gonna cause a stir about it. I'm like, I knew
Well,
going in I didn't I knew going in there was a couple bands there that I wasn't gonna like if they started talking about what I thought they were gonna talk about. Luckily, it was limited. And I didn't but even if it wasn't limited, I would have just said, well, whatever, and walk away or just not pay attention. But people can't do that. It's like protesting everything is getting ridiculously old at this.
well, you've got the free speech to do it, and that's your
I
fucking
understand that.
right to do it. So nobody's bitching about that shit. It's
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
certain situations where so speaking of certain situations, I kind of saw uh, they were wanting to ban phones at the ghost shows.
Yeah. He talked about it. Yeah. Tobias did.
So what's your opinion on that? I saw
Uh,
some people sharing on X were like, well, what do you think about this? And Buddy
Well, if you
Crash
remember,
mentioned it, so it's like, well, you might as well bring that up. So what do you think about that whole?
if you remember back in the day, way back in the 80s, 90s, even, a lot of bands had a rule against friggin' cameras in.
Yes.
They didn't want the flashing, they didn't want all that stuff. Now, Tobias might be on a different reasoning behind it, but still, if you can ban cameras, you should be able to ban phones. And I think he's just maybe trying to get people to pay attention. Or is it that he's wanting not the whole light coming from the crowd? I don't know which one. I didn't watch any interviews about why he felt that way. But if you watch other shows, even there's been other shows where, like Aaron Lewis, a lot of people don't like Aaron Lewis. I could care less either way. I don't really listen to him much. but he was trying to play it at like an intimate setting kind of thing and playing acoustic, and there was just people running their gums the whole time. So finally, he just turned around and said, "Shut the fuck up." I'm up here trying, and I get it because you know what? I played in bars. There's people not paying attention to me and talking and shooting the shit. That's one thing. But I guess if I'm paying that much money to go watch somebody play, I want to hear them. I don't want to hear the drunken asshole next to me yelling at his girlfriend or buddies or whatever. I mean, in a nice, intimate setting like that. But Ghost, I mean, it's going to be a big arena. So I think it should be up to the band and the arena itself. And if they say no cell phone, I think it's just like anything else. Though they say no vapes, they say no weed, they say no. People are going to bring them in.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much of that fight he's going to win. I think it's going to be to the arena, and they're not going to want to have a bunch of disgruntled people because they can't bring their phone in. And if they try and then they get caught at security, what are they going to do? Confiscate their phone? I mean, you don't want to get into all that mess.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. For me, I would never ask of that if I was in a band like Ghost. I would just say, well, if they want to spend their time on their phone and not enjoy the show, I guess that's on them. Their money pays the same. But it would be frustrating. I
well,
can't
yeah, it
see
would.
I can't see what other reason it would be other than he wants the attention put on the show. Because I can't see the cameras being a problem. I mean, they've been filmed everywhere. It's not a secret to what they're doing. So yeah, it's you know take it for what you will. I guess I just think it's a non-issue. I really do. And if they ban the phones, guess what? If you really want to see ghosts, you'll leave your phone in the car.
Yeah.
And I I would if I was really wanting to go see ghosts, and they said they can't have phones in here. Well, it's going in the car, and I'll get it when I get back out. It's just how it is. There's other places you're not allowed to take phones in. So yeah, work should be a big one, but hell, God, everybody's on their phone all day at work,
Yeah.
everywhere now. So, but it's like, I don't really. I think he's got a right to request it, but I don't know if it'll fly.
well, I honestly, I mean, I understand where he's wanting to have everybody enjoy it in the moment. So I get it. So
Right.
respect it and don't get your phones out. That's fine. But then everybody's like, "Well, I just want to take a video to whatever."
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
so gray area that I want to, yeah,
You
I
never know. I mean, if you ever watch like Facebook or TikTok, people go to concerts and they put it on live for like however long they're allowed. And then like Facebook or TikTok, you can do the whole show if you want. I've seen it.
yeah. Well, and that's
So it's like,
probably part of it is, he doesn't want to have stuff flopping out there that
well,
I don't know.
and I think if it bothers you that much, if I'm him, I'd just say, well, ban the phones and offer live streams. It's like I did see that here locally, where there's people that have to come from all over the country to come to this little festival up in Versailles, right?
Yeah,
He's offering live stream now. You can pay the same price of a ticket and get it live streamed where you're at. So hell, I've thought about doing that because it's like, oh, then I can sit, here or at the river spot or whatever on my laptop and watch the concert without having to drive there and be in a drive home. I could sit here and drink beer all night if I want to or
yeah,
whatnot, not have to worry about it. I don't think it's a horrible idea. Everybody's well, that takes away from the atmosphere. It's like, yeah, but if you're only going to a show like that to watch the music, to listen to the music and watch it, I'm not going there for the atmosphere. Now, a big festival like Sonic Temple, Louder Than Life. That's the half of its atmosphere. I mean, half of it's being there. If something major happens, you could say, I was there.
Yeah.
It's a little, and it'd be harder to organize 160 bands on live stream. I get it. And who would want to try to hassle trying to do that? That would be a pain in the ass. So yeah, but there's a lot of ways around shows. I mean, a lot of people do that anyway. Striper's done several times where they put it on their Patreon or whatever, and they did like a show by themselves, an acoustic show, and they had people live stream for $10, and it was just in their studio or whatever. They did a whole album of it, and $10 is a pretty good deal if you don't want to go to freaking California to watch it. So yeah, it was not. It was easy to get on. It was easy to watch. So yeah, that could be somewhat of a wave of the future, but sure, it takes away some of the atmosphere. But man, I'm 56 years old. I don't need to be trudging all over the country trying to watch festivals or watch bands play that are special, like people that flew in from different countries to see Slayer last year because it was the big, return 3 days of Slayer, and it got rained out by a freaking hurricane. So it's like if they would have, they would have just had a live stream, they would have just missed the live stream. But hell, I don't know why they couldn't have put Slayer in the damn arena down the street and let them play and live stream it. That could have been an option, but you never know. One of them things. There's people that are going to die hard, be atmosphere, and there's assholes like me that don't love crowds anymore.
Yeah.
I could sit at home and watch it and be as happy as a clam. I would pay the same price I pay for the ticket to have every live stream and have it for like 10 days. That's
Yeah.
usually the mode. You can watch it anytime for like the next 3 days or 10 days,
Well,
whatever.
are they afraid of pirating or something, or I don't know. What's
Yeah, well, that and most people want to go to a rock show. They want to go,
Well,
and,
yeah,
and
because it's being there is half the experience.
but I just thinking with DVDs kind of being on the decline and live streams kind of taking more of a role. Wonder if we're going to start to see more of that as an option for ways for them to make money too. The band can make money if they can sell like pay per view. It's almost like a pay per view for every concert they do. And hell, I think it would be a killer, but I don't know what all goes into doing that. It might be a
Yeah.
big pain in the ass, but
Well,
yeah, it's just an idea I floated around.
it's always. I mean, you've seen bands. They get the cameras all set up and they get everything set up, and then it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this show in Dallas, and we're gonna be recording for 2 nights, and then they put out their live video. So it's not like
Yeah,
they haven't done the stuff before, and it's not like they don't already have cameras going to show stuff on the big jumbotrons for
yeah,
shows.
yeah,
So you're already set up for shit. Why not just fucking pipe
yeah. I
a
think,
live feed or something? I don't
well,
know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you could do it, but then trying to do it with that many people on the server, I don't know. Maybe that becomes a problem. I really couldn't tell you. I mean, but you figure places like YouTube and Rumble and these places have lives on them all day long, multiples at the
Yeah.
same time. You would figure there's a way to do it, but that's too far over my head technology wise.
Well, I can't even figure out how to get everything all streaming all at once. So
Well, I mean, yeah. See, that'd be worse for me because I don't have a computer bone in my body really. So, well, I did see one might interest you. I don't know if they're coming anywhere close to here, but Offspring has announced a new tour this year.
they are
So that
going
should
to be down
be,
at Riverbend. They're going to be down at
yeah.
Riverbend.
I just seen that. There was a couple down at River. That the other one was the Volbeats down at Riverbend too. So they're pretty happening down there. Cincinnati this year.
Yeah,
So
I think Pantera announced that they were selling tickets this week.
yeah, I don't know exactly
I think it's
how
fucking
long
Riverbend
that
as well
tour.
too.
Yeah, I think that's Riverbend also. So yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, if you want to see a major band, they're probably out this year. It's like this is kind of like the year to be out, I guess, because I've seen Exodus is coming back out. You know, they're doing with their new back to their old vocalist, but he's the new vocalist now, and they're doing a tour with Deicide in between. Slayer's added shows now. Oh, big surprise!
Yeah.
Adding shows now over in UK, Europe, I feel. So it's like, hey, they're really never retired in my mind because it's like they took what 3 4 years off and now they're doing festivals. Now they're expanding their tour schedule, and it's like with a bunch of people too. I think it's Anthrax is going with them and a couple other bands. So yeah, I mean it's cool if you're a Slayer fanatic, and I've seen Slayer a number of times. I mean it's always a good show, but it's like eh, you know, I guess I was fortunate. I kind of over or under appreciate it, maybe people would say. And it's like, hey, it was the time I was going to a lot of shows, mid 80s, early 90s, 2000. That's when I seen them. You know, it was like when they were out, it was just another tour at that point. Well, now that they're retired, it's all of a sudden a big deal. And it's like, I don't jive on, I mean, I will never buy another farewell show again. I mean, I
Yeah.
just won't believe it's going to be the last show ever until it is. You know, there's some I have hope for, like NoFX, Sum 41. Those guys, I think they're probably for the most. I'm thinking they're probably done, but you never know. The money man comes calling to them.
Well, it's hard, I guess, if you're retired or call it quits, and somebody lays a paycheck down and says, "Okay, guys, let's do this." It would
Yeah,
have to be hard to turn it down.
yeah.
You'd have to really
I think
have, ethics and say, we're not going to do this. That was the whole Motley thing for me. I really thought they were going to call it quits and maybe do
yeah.
their solo stuff. And no, no, that lasted what, 5 fucking years?
Yeah, it's about the same as Slayers did. Yeah, it's kind of a trend. I mean, Kiss didn't even last that long the first time. You know, the second time or the third time. But you know, it's just I don't trust anybody to do a farewell show unless somebody would. You know, I thought unless somebody died. Well, that's not even the case now
Yeah,
because you've had Linkin Park come back with a new singer. Yeah, you know, Soundgarden's done a one-off here of their songs with a different singer, and it's like so you never know. I can't sit here and say, oh, I would never do another show ever, but I could say I wouldn't do a tour. And here you go. You got Slayer adding show. And is it going to be a tour eventually? Is it going to be another album eventually? You never know. But I think a
well,
lot of that stuff it will die out because if you take, for example, Pantera, do they still draw good right now? Sure, but not like the build up for this reunion with Phil and Rex, then adding the other. That was going to be the hugest thing in music history, and it's like now they're just another band that tours. They're not. It's not, and they're not even a full time band. I mean, Phil does other stuff. He's playing with Down again. He does other projects too. Charlie's still in Anthrax,
yeah.
and Zach's still got. I'm sure he's still got Black Label at his disposal when he wants to. So, it's just some of it makes you think it's all about money. Some of it's just because they want to play the music, and it's whatever. I don't care. At least Pantera didn't come out with, we're going to do a one-off show in respect for Dimebag, and we're never going to play again. They never said that. They
Yeah,
just said we're going
yeah,
to come out and play the music
yeah. At
and
least
see how
at
it goes.
least they were upfront about it. You know,
Yeah,
that's I guess that's where it's that's where I got into the ethics.
yeah. They
So
didn't. They didn't promise a whole tour, but they didn't say it wasn't possible either. So it's like I don't have any problems with what they're doing. A lot of people do. A lot of people think it's should never been. It should never happened. Should never been done. I don't mind that it's happened, and I think it's respectful. I don't think they're doing it for a money grab. None of those guys need the money. I think
yeah,
it's just to show their love for the music that they played in Pantera, and two fans that get to play Pantera with two of the guys in Pantera. It's like it's not. I don't see anything evil or misleading with that. It could be, who knows? But
well, the only thing I thought was kind of cool was at least some of this younger generation is going to get to experience what Pantera was about.
yeah, I mean a
So
little
that
bit.
that
I
was
mean,
cool. And then that brings up the whole, we've talked about it before. When should people call it quits?
yeah,
And what kind of effect does that have on anything? Well, you don't get the opportunity to see Pantera in this case.
right.
So, does that leave room for any other up and coming bands? I don't know how the record industry works anymore. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's tricky. It's
It
tricky because there's no
so
sales to deal with
if
per
you've
se.
got if you've got an act that's on your label and you have, say, we'll call them legacy bands, and they're around for a while, does that take up resources from your record company to still promote these acts that maybe should have called it quits?
Yeah.
How does it hit their finances?
Well, that's their decision because they can drop them like Mustaine. Actually, Megadeth just. I don't know if they jumped off the label or the label dropped them, but they're on a new label now. And a lot of the bands that like '80s bands that have resurfaced are on like European labels because
Okay,
people still are still really into the '80s and '90s music more in Europe, I think, than even here. So like Napalm and album or Frontier Records, stuff like that. There's a lot of bands that are on that, and
okay,
that's how they get this distribution. Now, I think most bands anymore they just kind of DIY their tours and stuff. They might have
yeah,
a manager, but I don't think it's backed by the record companies like it used to be. I think maybe the videos are, and maybe some of the album as far as distributing the album, but as far as the shows and tours, I think they're kind of doing it on their own or on the touring agency kind of
yeah.
handles
I
that. At
I I,
least it
I would
seems
love
that
to. I would love to get some band, maybe a smaller band that tours, and like pick their brain and say, okay, well, how does this work? You're on a small label, blah blah blah. What do you have to cover? What do they cover? I mean, I would just like to know the insides of that. So if
yeah,
anybody
yeah,
out
that
there knows, feel free
being
to email
interesting.
us.
Yeah. That's at least if you've done a tour or two that I mean a lot of these guys you see them they travel around in bands the younger ones the coming up bands so we kind of knew that that's always been the way it's been they don't get luxury buses and stuff
Yeah,
but yeah I'd like to know how much support they actually have or if it's just kind of they do it on their own and they depend on merch sales they depend on ticket sales for them the venue probably splits it a certain way, and they get whatever the venue pays them or the band that's headlining pays them. It's a lot of things it could be. But you hear some stories about some of these bands, man. They're struggling, and
Yeah,
they're kind of popular bands, and they're out there on the road, and their alternator belt goes out on their van, and they're kind of hosed. So it's like they're down and out in Wichita, Kansas, asking on TikTok Live for whatever you call those Venmo, Cash
yeah.
App, and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, it'd be a rough life at this point. I think it was probably rough forever. But back in the heyday of music, the late 70s, 80s, the mystique around the big tour buses would pull up, and you just thought they were living the best life. Maybe they were, but maybe it's the same now, and it was like it's really not improved a whole shit ton. You know what I mean?
Well, it's
Some of
just,
these
yeah,
bands, yeah,
there's so much logistics that go into tours, and have they broken it down into the management only handles this, and the record company only handles record sales, and you know what whose responsibility is what now is, I guess, the big
yeah,
question.
yeah. I think the promoter of the show for a lot of this stuff's on the hook. It was funny because I actually talked to a guy, last this early this week or last week, maybe at the end of last week. He had a band years ago, and their band was playing in a spot we knew very well, the brewery, right?
Okay.
And there was a band that came in. They were a major band called Vampire Moose, I think was the name of it. And this band was going to open up for them, but they were kind of helping them. They paid them out of their pocket to come there
Yeah.
so they could play that place and make it packed out, whatever. Well, they got there and they thought, well, here's your money. And they said, well, what about our stuff? They were like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, we got a big list like Van Halen used to, like
The
no brown
rider.
M&Ms and shit. Yeah, right. So they had the guys in his band, two of them, they had to go to Walmart or wherever it was and spend another 200 and some dollars to get these guys their little rider item. And that's and that place holds what, 150 people?
Yeah.
The upstairs of that. So it's like, and you already got paid $500, and you're still asking for a freaking rider in small Podunk, Ohio. It's kind of ridiculous, but that's probably part of how they get what they want is they put it in the rider and you got to pay, you got to give us all this stuff, money they don't have to pay on M&Ms and orange juice and gluten-free
Yeah.
snacks or whatever the hell it is these guys want. But yeah, I just thought that was crazy. It's like I would have told them to get bent. That would have been me. I'm like, I ain't going nowhere and getting you nothing. Paying you $500, you can go to Walmart and spend your own money because that wasn't. But they might have over missed it. It might have been in the contract that you have to do the
Well,
rider, and they didn't.
and that's something we never had to deal with being in a local band.
Yeah,
We would talk directly to either one of the other bands that wanted us on the show, or we talked to the owner of the fucking place and said, "Yeah, we'll show up," and blah blah blah. And that's what it was, all verbal. So you know what
yeah.
I mean. It's
Well, we
very
had the
hillbilly of us to do, but that's how we did a lot of the stuff.
when that band came in to play that benefit for us, like 2012. Did they have a big rider like that? I know they got paid way too much, but was there a rider for it?
I do not know
I couldn't
exactly.
remember. I was just saying that would be something comparable that we've actually been a part of, but I didn't hear of anything. I know that girl paid them way too much money and like whatever,
Well,
but it's like intentions were
everybody
good, but
everybody that I had lined up from the local that was outside of that band was, do you guys want to play? And it's for a good cause. And that was all it took.
yeah.
And
And I
everybody
understand.
donated their time and all that stuff. So, you know what I mean? It was just an opportunity
Yeah.
for some of these bands to play. So that's all it was.
Yeah, and I understand this band came from farther, they came from a distance. I get it. But I would say, well, we could pay for your travel and your food and whatnot. But a lot of bands don't care what the cause is; they just don't. And it's they kind of and they didn't hold up their end of the bargain on stuff. But it's like, what are you going to do? I mean, you can't really take them to court. You could have took them out in the cornfield, beat the shit out of them, which I wanted to do. But what would that prove at the end of the day? It was just one of them experiences, and there's a lot of different experiences you have, good and bad. Band. Stuff we've played back in time. There was bands that were really super nice, and there was total dick band that shouldn't have been as arrogant as they were. And
Yeah,
it's like I played with some in my other band that were probably too big to be where they were playing and didn't give two shits. They didn't care. They played for 8 people or whatever it was at the end. And, I felt a little bad because when the show started, we were first. There was 60, 70, 80 people there. And then, small ass place. You couldn't get a lot of, I mean, it was a record store, for God's sake.
yeah.
But by the time they played, there was 8 or 10 people, and then us
Well, yeah,
watching
but you
them
don't have
supporting
no
them.
control over that.
No, and it was like they just, I mean, we had a lot of friends show up for that just to support, the band members. And they didn't probably advertise a shit ton about it because they were on their way home. They're from Toledo originally, so they're probably say, "Yeah, we'll stop here, make a few bucks." And I don't know what they got paid, but it's more. I'm sure it's more than us because we got nothing, and that's
Yeah,
fine. I didn't care, but yeah, and it was probably just, hey, we've been played here before. It was kind of cool, so we'll play here again. And that's probably what they thought. And they were, an hour away from home at that point. So why not? But
yeah.
you get bands like that, and then you get pissy bands that won't go across the street unless they get $500 in their hand. So it just depends on the band itself and how they view things. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. You can be if you get to the spot where you can be a dick, then you earned that. Even though I wouldn't want I wouldn't want to be a dick, but if I had control and could say I want, a case of beer in my dressing room, I want, Subway, I want a triple cheeseburger from Wendy's, whatever the hell I wanted. If I had that control, would I have done it? Maybe, probably.
Well,
And
I
I
mean
would have been,
that's all part of a contract.
yeah,
So,
but I wouldn't have been a dick if they didn't have it. They just paid me the money. They said, oh, we didn't know about it. We're kind of screwed up about the rider. It's like, oh, you know what? It's not the end of the world. I'm still getting paid. I'm still getting paid to play. And I can go down the street and hit the Wendy's on my way out of town after I'm done and spend my own $8 on a fucking cheeseburger. Whatever. It wouldn't be the end of the world, but yeah, it'd be kind of nice to be pampered like that. But if you're already getting paid, I have trouble with going overboard for some of these.
well, we all whenever we did a show, it was whatever money we made at the door was usually what we was playing for,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Or
yeah,
unless it was specific, hey, could you guys open up for this band? We'll give you drink tickets. I mean, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Or you're going to get $25, or
Yeah.
you're going to get whatever for to play 45 minutes. It's like, all right,
And
whatever.
what did we always do? Whatever money we made at the door, you split it up between however many bands were on the bill, and
Yeah,
if that's what
that's
you
why.
made, that's what you got.
It,
That's what you got.
if you book the show, you should divvy it up, and everybody. I can't remember a show where I got boned on. Now there might be
Yeah.
one. There might be one where the band just took off and didn't pay us or whatever. But I mean, I always got compensated for my time when, and I would go turn around and hand it out, split it 4 ways, or however many people we had left there, and hold it back for them when we seen them next time if they left early or whatever. Wasn't about money, but when you got money involved, you want to make sure you cross your I's or cross your T's and dot your I's, because you don't want somebody finding out, hey, the band made $100. Well, only two of us were there, so me and Skeeter went and fucking spent it. Fuck you two. You didn't want to stay. That would be dick move. So,
Yeah.
ain't nothing we ever did. So it's like, everybody gets $25. That's how it goes. And you know, big bands are, yeah, it'd be interesting to hear how they do things now. I can't imagine it being a whole lot different than it was. So that's kind of crazy. Even thinking about the back in the days. So, anybody else have any experience with shitty bands as a musician? If you're a musician watching, or if you're a fan that just saw some horrible stuff going down with the band that booked the show or opening for a major band or whatnot, it's like I only had that experience a few times, and everybody was pretty cool. The one band, and I'm not going to name names unless I feel like it here in a minute, but the most of the times it was pretty cool. And one band was really kind of dickish. And at the time, they were kind of being touted as a somewhat big deal because they had just gotten off like the band's Warp Tour at the time, and they stopped in a small to mid town or city in Ohio on a Tuesday to play a show, and it really was pretty barren. You had a few college kids from the local college that came to see that band in particular, but there was like three opening bands for that show, and I thought everybody did good, and we got on, got off, respectful time. I thought we were courteous to the last band. I thought we were courteous to the headliner.
Yeah.
But there's times where they just don't want to hear from any local bands they're at, and they're pissed off because there wasn't enough people there for them. It's like, but you had one hit in the '90s. It's like, dude, I mean, have some humility. They didn't have it. They didn't have, well, not all of them. A couple of them were okay. But
Yeah.
that singer was a fucking dick. He was just a dick. It's like it ain't our fault you didn't sell enough tickets, man.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be you're the headliner. You're coming off the Warp Tour. You're doing this and that. We're just playing a show, and we brought more people with us than you brought because we had just our wives and girlfriends were more people that were there to see you. So you lose the attitude, loosen up. But no, they didn't. And, I wanted to hear one specific song. And as soon as that song was over, we were like, see you later. And that's how it was. It's like, and there's only been like three bands that are like considered major bands. And two of them, when I played in UO, were nice people. They didn't have that ego. They didn't have that attitude. So it was like, it just depends on the band you're in and I actually do believe genre sticks in there, because if you're a mainstream, like, had a hit on TV and radio, you're probably going to get a bigger head. But if you're in the deathcore or metalcore or heavier genres, you know that you're never going to be a superstar as far as TV and record deals and all that stuff. So you're going to be happy to play and hopefully gain some more fans, and hopefully get your chops up for when you get the big break you might get. And the one band, A Dying Feast, that I played with, they sat there and watched our show. they watched our set, and it was like, come up right after the show's over. Hey, good, great job, man. Good job, guys. Thanks. When we turned in turn, sat there, never heard of them.
Yeah.
Sat there and watched their set, and they were having. You would have thought they were playing for $1 million in the Forum in L.A. They were just having a fucking blast, and that's like. And the one guy even said, he goes, how often do you get to play at a fucking music store? It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. So I think it is too. And it was like, that was a good experience. And then we had, the big Warp Tour band, about 50%. Two of them were kind of cool. The other two were like, oh, go fuck yourself. And yeah,
Well, I mean,
I
that's
mean,
you get that in anything.
yeah, and I enjoyed the show. I mean, I enjoyed playing it, so I don't care exactly what they thought or what they did, but
Yeah.
you'll get that either way.
Well, it's
Oh,
you know everybody that's ever been in a band has had to, unless they're the only band playing, has had to deal with somebody on a bill that's being an asshole. I mean, and a lot of times it's not even they're an asshole. It's some situation that they run into, say at the club where a guitar cord died, or something like that, and they're just in a
yeah,
pissy mood. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So
I've been to shows like that where you can tell they weren't in a good mood, and it's like, you want to get mad, and sometimes you do because it's like, I paid money to see. Why are you being well, you know what? That's just their job at that. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
they got a cool job, but I've went into work and just had a fucking shit day right off the bat. And it's like, I can't expect them to be superhuman and not let shit get to them. If
yeah.
something's going on, it's like, yeah, I want to be cool for you guys because I appreciate you being my fans, but fuck this day. I'm over it. And it's like, you just want to play and get the hell out. I could see that. I could vibe on that with them. But at the
Well,
time, you don't even take that into, you think they should be ready and willing and able every show,
well,
not
that's
have bad day because
That's a,
you're
that's
paying
a good
money.
way to be, though, Mikey. You know what I'm saying? You
I
have to
know,
have
dude,
a
but
professional attitude if you're going to perform in public or do something
yeah,
of that caliber. It doesn't matter if there's 5 people or 5,000 people. You put on the same show, so you got you
yeah,
know
yeah. I seen a guy, and it's, I watch a lot of the band stuff on TikTok just because I like to catch a lot of lives from different parts of the country, see how the crowds are, and I watch this guy's live because he's pretty decent drummer, and I watch his live once in a while. And he was on the other day, and he got done with a song, and I just happened to be scrolling, and I got on their live. He turned around, looked at the camera, and he goes, "Well, that was fun. 4 hours of playing to the bartender." And he's panned his camera out, and there wasn't anybody there. And I'm like, he just kind of laughed. He goes, "That happens. It happens." And I was like, well, that's a decent, that's pretty good attitude because it would be hard to keep that when especially if you're doing that for a living and you might depend on like donation jars or people request songs sometimes. A lot of these bands, they'll get people to request songs and they'll say for $20, we'll play Freebird or $20, we'll play this. And they do. Drunk idiots like me, I'd go up there. Oh, yeah, I want to hear, do whatever by Pearl Jam or something? Yeah, but yeah, we'll do it for you for $20. Okay, you know, and that might be how they get a little extra side cash. So it's like it's a rough. I can't imagine working as a full time musician in this country
no,
playing
no.
covers like some of these people do.
Well, I kind of felt weird to because I've been to a couple places where we played and they if you want to put out a tip jar, you can. And they're like going, that whole thing was like beyond my
Yeah.
fucking comprehension of what do you mean? Like you're busking on the street? They paid to get
Yeah.
in. That's what but that's just me.
Well, yeah, but it's kind of like a tip at a restaurant. If if you and believe me, restaurants are now putting on there a gratuity for the band.
Wow. I
They're
didn't know
actually
that.
adding that on there, and it's like that's a little much for me because if you just want to go in and eat and you don't give a shit about the band, you shouldn't be charged for that per se in my mind. But I understand the intention behind it. It's like, well, you're trying to help the band out. I get it. But at the same time, I follow these couple of girls that play, and they're in Nashville, and they're playing in Nashville. This bars they have gigs from 10 to 2 in the morning, or they'll play either 10 to 2, 2 to 6, or 6 to 10, or something like that. Or
10
no, it's
a.m. They start at 10 a.m.
yeah. One time they did that. It was I think usually it's 2 to 6, 6 to 10, and 10 to 2. So you can play two different sets on Broadway that night, but you're like 2 to 6 is free, but you have to pay a cover to get into 10 to 2. And they'll tell you that on there. And I watch a lot of their lives, and it's like 2 in the afternoon, pretty rocking and rolling in, in parts of Nashville, even on like a Wednesday. So it's like, it's known as a music city for a reason.
Yeah.
And these girls don't play country. They play like everything. There's some country, there's some rock. Today I watched them. They did the two songs I watched. I think was Pat Benatar. They did Heartbreaker, and then they did Higher by Creed. So it's like they were in the 2 to 6 time slot, and they were playing more rock. Now, one girl, she's a great drummer. I follow her a lot. She plays in the country band. I know at 10 at night till 2 in the morning. That's her main bread and butter gig. So it's like that's how they got to do it to survive. You could play 8 hours in a day. That to me, we've played 4 hours. I was wore the fuck out,
Yeah.
and we took breaks. And they do too. But I'm just saying, 4 hours of singing or 4 hours of drumming or playing guitar or anything is probably enough. Then you got to take like a 4 hour sabbatical and do it again. That's dedication, and that's what you got to do, I guess, because
Well,
that's your job. You can do 8 hours at a normal job. You got to do 8 hours as a musician, but man, that would be rough. For me,
well,
it would be rough.
that was our situation. So, everybody that was in the band with us had a full-time fucking day job, night job,
Yeah,
whatever. And you set up for one fucking show in a month or 2 months or whatever when it came along. And, there wasn't enough places that you could do that around here.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
it was,
could be a
if you had to survive, you had to work the full-time job and get the time off to play the fucking show.
yeah, and they are in Nashville, and another thing is they're not playing original. So I mean, if you're looking at it that way, it's like it's definitely more of a job because they're
Yeah.
playing covers and they're doing it for multiple styles. I mean, they play multiple styles because a lot of them are in 3 or 4 different bands because they just mix and match. Oh, so and so's not here this week. They went to see their family. Can you play drums for us or play bass for us or whatever? Sure. Well, give me your set list. And they know most of them. And then if they don't know them, they go home and practice them a little bit, and they're okay, good to go. And that's because they're professionals. That's what they do.
Well, yeah, they're professionals, and you're in an area that caters to music.
Yeah. If I wanted to do it all over again, if I could go back in the time machine 30 years ago, I would have moved to Nashville more than likely. just because I consider it more friendly than New York or LA. And I think you could have made a little more peaceful life outside of playing, but you could have made enough money to get by too. It seems like maybe it wouldn't have been that way when I was 30 years ago. Maybe it wasn't no rock bands back then. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're a session musician, kind of fitting in a band, you don't care if it's country.
Yeah.
But that I decided, being Mr. Brightside here, to sell my soul to do fucking originals in Podunk, Ohio instead.
Well,
Yeah, life's decisions sometimes will bite you square in the ass, and you can't cry over spilled milk. What's done is done. But yeah, if I had it to do all over again, or if I was a 20-something-year-old, they come and ask me now, where should I go to play music full time? Go to Nashville, young man.
yeah.
Or, if you really want to push it, go to LA, but that place eats people up a lot more than Nashville, I would. I'm
Well,
not saying we got a guy that, we could always ask about
yeah.
Nashville, but he's not actively playing down there yet. But I mean, he might know people. It would be interesting maybe next time you talk to him, get a perspective and say, hey, because he's got a lot of buddies that are in bands. So, and I just wonder how it is. I mean, I know it's more accepting of rock and metal now, but I wonder if it's always. I can't see it being always been that way because country, old school country was old school back then. The new country's kind of rockish, popish kind of stuff. So maybe it's more accepting. And then you got guys like Kid Rock that go down there and start a bar
Yeah.
and they'll allow rock bands. And you got other famous people that have bars that are kind of rock oriented. So yeah, it's just, yeah, that would be my advice to any young person that wants to be a music professional. Go to Nashville and then hook on to somebody down there. You might get lucky. Play
Well,
some
I mean,
originals, play some covers.
a lot of what we did was it was convenient. So we were in a band because we wanted to play music and we wanted to play our own music. So,
Yeah,
it was convenient for us to say, okay, this is what we're going to do because we've got full-time jobs that actually pay the bills.
yeah,
So, a lot of people don't do that. They give up everything and they move to LA or New York or Nashville and they go whole hog.
yeah, yeah,
So, I guess we were kind of chicken shit because we didn't fucking drop responsibilities and all that, but for what we were wanting to do, that was what was convenient for us. So I don't feel
yeah.
bad. I don't feel
Oh,
bad about it.
I do. I feel bad, but not for the same kind of reason. I feel bad because back then the way to do things was to get a record put out or whatever, and then mail it to all the record companies and try to get them to take and kind of put you in their label and distribute it and send you on tours. I mean, it was the early mid '90s, and they were still doing that back. So it would have been the easy way to just get lucky and have somebody like your stuff and send you. And so I guess the reason I say kind of feel bad about it is because I could have tried a little harder to like shop it, you know, go out and do more public appearances and bug people, kind of pester these record companies like you see people do. And I don't have that in my nature naturally. If I send you something, I don't hear back from you in 3 days. I say, well, fuck them. They don't want me. I do that with job applications. And back in the day, I'd send somebody a resume or whatever. I had heard back from them in a week. I fuck them. And they said, well, you got to call them and ask why. I sent them my shit. Why am I got to call them? If they really want me, they'll get a hold of me. Well, it shows that you're super interested. I wouldn't have applied if I wasn't interested. You know, that's my whole focus on it. And people just these guys, you watch these movies of these rock stars and stuff, and they bug the piss out of the people in the record industry. They
Yeah,
just
but that's a
bug them.
fucking movie, Mikey. That's a
Well, I
fucking
know,
movie.
but a lot of times that's based on reality. You watch some of the movies that were like documentary. They didn't just send a tape and do nothing else. I mean, they were handing out tapes every show they had, and they were merching the hell out of stuff, and they had people sticking flyers all over the city for them as street teams, shit like that. And it's
Well,
like,
yeah, but
yeah, we can't have it here. But instead of just sending it out to the record companies, I should have probably said, hey, we're going to have to go play for nothing in Cleveland and Columbus and Youngstown and Akron and these big cities. We're going to have to go play and hope to God we can just get enough gas money to get home because that's the only way we're going to get around. Play Indianapolis, whatever.
well,
And it's like the drive wasn't there because I couldn't do it with having a kid and stuff. But I didn't, so I didn't do it early enough, and I didn't prioritize it when I had the money and had it, set to where, okay, if I get hit big, I can go tour for a while and
yeah,
come home, and my family wouldn't want for nothing. And then when I get take them with me when they get a little older, summertime, take the kids with me. It would have been take them in the van with me in the summer when they're out of school, whatever. I didn't think that far ahead because I thought I'll be a major star. I won't have to worry about it. I'll have, a nanny or whatever. Knowing in the back of my mind, knowing in the back of my mind that I wasn't even close to being talented enough to do it. It was just a hope, a wing and a prayer kind of thing.
well, I mean, that's
But
what
you can't,
everybody goes on, though.
yeah, but
You
a lot of people put a lot more into it, and I didn't. And so I got nothing, nobody to blame but myself for shit not getting hurt or got getting because it could have been crazy. You never know. Somebody could have heard something on postal carrier back then. So, oh, that's different.
yeah,
These guys are like a mixture of this and that and whatever. They're kind of different, but we didn't have the distribution ability in
well,
the 90s.
who knew what was going to happen with the internet? I mean, we kind of had an idea once things started picking up, but it's exploded from the time
Yeah,
we first was getting online with dial up and shit. You know what I mean? It was like, oh,
yeah,
oh, and it was just another avenue. So once we could start putting stuff online, it was like, well, this is easy.
yeah. And it's almost the complete opposite now. It's so easy to get out there, but you kind of get lost in the mix because everybody can get out there now. Everybody's on YouTube and Rumble and Spotify and DistroKid and anything you name, they're on it. And it's like you're just another band at that point, unless you have some monumental shit.
Yeah.
And I see bands like I look at my the band I have on Spotify. I look at the monthly listeners. I'm like, oh, a few people hanging around. There's still a few on there. And I look at another local band that I haven't really seen do a whole lot. They got thousands of monthly listeners. How in the hell do they have that many more? And it's like they're good. Don't get me wrong. All the bands that I listen to on there that are local, hey, at least the ones that are my style of listening, they deserve all that because they go out and they put the work in, they play the shows, they promote the shit out of themselves, and they're good. They're and it's like I did the whole put it on the internet. It's going to get thousands of plays on there. No, and it's no algorithm on Spotify. It's just people have to go searching for your band, and that's
Yeah.
it. And if they don't, then they're not going to hear it. It's the
Well,
same with YouTube Music and all that.
I've heard I heard there's ways to manipulate listens. I've
I've
heard
heard
that
that.
from. I've heard that there's, you know, some people will fucking hit extra plays or let shit run
Uh,
and do that. So until you get an accurate, how do they measure their plays? What is considered a play? I mean, it's the same way with streaming and stuff. I look
yeah,
at these fucking numbers.
podcast.
I look at the numbers and I go, okay, well, I know I watched this episode to
Yeah,
see how it turned out, or I watched this live stream and played it back, or
right,
I know Mikey might have looked at it, dude. How did we mess up, or what was good or bad,
right.
So at least two of them are us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I always know that, and it's the same way I do my podcast, my other podcast. It's like thousands upon thousands. I get like, dude, almost 10,000 impressions a month. But it's people looking for something related, kind of, sort of, to my name, and they go on my page by coincidence or accident or something because the stream totals don't match that.
Yeah,
The stream total, and then the streams are like, if you go unique streams, ones that listen all the way through, it's even a lower number. And it's like you're not going to make any money on it anyway because you got to have like a gazillion streams to make $8 or something. I mean,
yeah,
people have been bashing about that forever and ever. So they all make their money touring and merch, but a lot of them have reels and shorts and every day, parts of songs, 20, 30 a day. Some of these bands, these newer bands, are really good at doing that. Deadlands is good at it. Not Enough Space is good at it. I mean, there's a lot of them. I can't turn on a YouTube without a new short or reel from these guys, and it's just part of a song or a growl or something. And it's like, but that gets traffic, and I don't say it's going to make any money for them, but then again, it just opens another way of advertising yourself. Especially when you got a new album coming out. A lot of them say, new album drops, and they put that at the big letters at the bottom of every reel they do. Can't blame them for that.
oh
It's like
no,
people
you
get
got to do
sick of seeing
something.
it. Yeah, people might get sick of seeing, oh, this band again, blah blah. Well, if you're into the band, you're not gonna give a shit. You're gonna say, I'm gonna watch it anyway,
Yeah.
and I do. I watch every Ginger, Spirit Box, doesn't matter who it is. I'll spend a fucking hour. If I go on to watch one reel, I'm there for an hour because all these bands, and I find a lot of bands that way. I really do.
You got
Yeah,
hooked.
they hook you in there, and it's like a lot of these bands I would have never found without it, and they're like still underground, but man, I really like them. And some of them have climbed up into the next tier, like we've talked about with Deadlands. That was TikTok all the way. Not Enough Space was TikTok. But then I found some like Heavy Hitter on YouTube. Wow, these guys are fucking heavy. And it's like, they're pretty cool. And then you watch more of their stuff, and they got an EP out. You go to Spotify, you listen to that. And, it's a domino effect. And that's what they want. That's what these bands shooting for, I guess. And it's like, we didn't have that. you know, we didn't have that shit in the 90s.
No.
So it's like, yeah, it's definitely easier. But if you watch one reel of somebody, there's a million bands doing that. From the top of the top bands all the way down to two guys in a basement or whatever. It's everything. So you got to sift through that
Yeah.
and see which ones you want to spend your time
Well,
listening to.
but on the same token, if you don't do it, if you don't have somebody who knows how to do it, then you're kind of fucked. So
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
these bands, how are they getting people lined up to do it? I mean, after a while, somebody's going to be like, "Well, I want my money."
Yeah,
Are they
and
paying them? Are they?
I'm saying they probably, some of them, I would just assume here, they probably have a technology manager, a social media manager that puts all this stuff together and takes clips from the video shoots that they have from the.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my point is, what starting band out there has got that lined up, or even thinks about lining it up to try to get their at least throw their hat in the ring? You know what I mean?
Bet some of them have close buddies that just want to be involved. They could be. I'm thinking like a studio, social media manager probably runs their merch tent too.
Yeah.
Probably stands there and does their merch for them, and they just give them like they're a part of the band. There's like, okay, there's four of us, but you're doing social media and you're watching the merch tent and you're an equal partner in that. You help drive the van to the next city, you do this. So they probably just kind of include them as like their manager, tour manager slash social media manager slash merch guy.
Well, but you still have to get to that level to where you
Yeah.
have to say we need a manager. We never had a manager. We did it ourselves.
Yeah.
So that
Well,
was
and a
our
lot of
own
these
fucking fault, you know.
well, a lot of these bands probably, to be honest, a lot of these bands probably do it themselves, but they're better with computers. They grew up with them. I mean, seriously, they grew up with them. Now, like the big bands, the Slayers and Motley Crues and Megadeths of the world, they have a team. I'm sure they have a team of people because they can afford. The record company will say, at that point, their label will say, "Hey, we're going to pay Joe Blow here 30 grand a year. He's going to be your social media guy. He's going to help you design your t-shirts. He's going to help you do this. He's your graphic dude. He's it. And he can whip it up. Like you've talked to other streamers on here that have a lot of shit going on in their podcasts like this, live stream. And you're like, how the hell do you have time to do that? And they're like, oh, it's this, copy, paste this, blah, blah, blah. They can do it because they just learned how. Me, I am not a computer person. I'm just not.
That's my job.
And yeah, and I can be I can talk for days and days and days and days and weeks, but I'm like Eddie Trunk, if you want to say it that way. Eddie Trunk probably doesn't know how to turn a computer on, but he goes and talks to the bands and knows what bands are were releasing this week, what bands are going on tour, what bands are doing this and that. That's what I do. I kind of observe, and report. But yeah, trying to get it to the next media to let everybody else know what I'm observing and reporting on is the challenge for me because other than my work, I never had a computer to fuck. I never had it. I have an iPad for God's sake. I didn't even have a laptop till a couple months ago. So it's like I'm at a loss. You get into these programs and crap, and I'm like, dude, I finally figured out how to do a voice recorder and transfer it from my laptop to my phone so I can upload it to my podcast site. And that's an all day event when that happens. It's like
Yeah,
it takes me longer to do the bullshit than it
yeah.
did for me to ramble for an hour and a half. And I just get frustrated so easy. And these bands, I'm sure what they want to do is go to the show and play the gig. And that's it. Do interviews, whatever, on radio or the internet. But a bunch of them probably have to do the unfortunate side as well as, well, they do. They drive. A lot of the band members have to drive the band
Yeah.
and they have to, take turns driving or whatever they do. And then you got a guy that has to set the shows up at the next venue. They got to book their own hotel room. They got to, or whatever they got to do. I'm sure it's more DIY than it was, but it would just be so easy. If you went viral a couple times, you're probably okay. I mean, you're going to get to the least out of the base. Couple viral videos from anybody. Hey, look at Hawk Tua.
Yeah.
Tua got interviewed. It wasn't even her fucking social media. She just got interviewed on the street, and she
Yeah.
became this phenomenon for how long? 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
She had her own podcast. She had her own meme coin or whatever the hell it is. So yeah, she's that's luck. That's luck of the draw, and people
Well,
get it. You know,
and
there's gold.
look where it ended up.
Yeah,
She
bad
wasn't
taste.
she wasn't planning on going that big, and she had to get
Yeah,
people to help her, and look what the
yeah,
fucking help did.
yeah.
It
They
fucked
hose.
her.
Yeah, yeah, and
I,
that's the thing. If you don't have somebody with you that you can trust that knows how to manage the business and do that stuff, you got to put your lot of faith in a guy that might not have your best interest. And
well,
a lot of these bands have gotten hosed that way. We know that
yeah, yeah.
for
Well,
sure.
I'm just saying, she made the final decision on I'm gonna do this, and she made the choice. So it's not like she's innocent in that whole fucking thing, but that's
Uh,
how it
I
played
think,
out. She made the
I
bad
think,
choice, and
yeah, yeah, but I think she was as hillbilly as she talked. She really didn't know. She got in over her head really quick, and
yes,
somebody saw that and said, "I can take all the advantage in this one."
yeah,
And they did, and then it backfired on her tremendously. And it's like, but you look at a lot of these people, and they're on these memes. There's one going around now, and this band has been around for, my God, dude, 40, 50 years maybe. They've been a doom metal like staple forever. They're called Pentagram.
okay.
And this dude that sings is like he's 70 something years
Oh, okay.
old.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
He's got the big bulging eyes staring at people like trying to creep them out in the crowd. That is a meme. Every time you turn around, I put one out the other day. It's like, it said, when the ibuprofen hits your system and it sees all the things fucked up in your body. And it had that dude standing there. And it's like, that's a true statement. And they're using it for everything now. And, I like that song now. That's a good way to promote there because I listen. That song's pretty cool. So I went and downloaded that song. I'm like, well, fuck, that's a badass song too. Little shit like that can just make you or break you. And not even. I mean, those guys have been doing it so long, but it's funny because a lot of people never heard of them until that. And it's like they've been around for that long and you never heard of them. Yeah, the big eyes right there. And I think he was trying to do it like a scary, intimidating kind of thing because his eyes can bulge like that. But man, it's so funny. They use it for everything. Anything you can think of, they'll put that meme with it. Just him for that like 10-second clip of that song with him staring, breathing heavy and stuff. And it's like, what was the one band that didn't make it forever? They were around, but they never made it. And then they came out with a documentary
Anvil,
about them.
Anvil.
Anvil, yeah.
Yeah, Anvil.
So it's like I didn't know much about them until that movie hit. And I was like, well, that's different, Good way to let everybody know how it is. Yeah, it's pretty cool how that stuff happens, but all that's luck with like Haktua. That's just pure dumb, stupid luck. And that happens more often than not anymore. If you become a meme, you've made it, man. You have made it. If you're a meme that happens a lot, you're on top of the world. You can't get any just by dumb luck to have it that good. And she probably could have been set for life if she would have just pulled off the throttle a little bit and said, you know what? I'm just gonna go to a friend and talk to them and not let these people manipulate me because I don't know what I'm doing. And unfortunately for her, it didn't end that way. But Christ, she'll still be known as Haktua. There's Anvil, yeah. That guy's kind of a creepy looking. They're kind of all creepy looking, really. But yeah, how long did they stick around without being famous? And then that movie helped, but I still don't think they got where they probably deserved to be. They got swallowed up in the whole thing back in the day. They were just like right at the edge, knocking to come in. And they couldn't quite get there. So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
it's they
it was
they did what they
interesting.
could. I mean,
Yeah,
that was actually I watched that movie and it was like,
yeah, it was an interesting movie. I
yeah,
watched
it
that.
was.
Those movies like that are really the best kind. Like even Decline of the Western Civilization back in, because you've seen how some of these people were just they lived and breathed it, and then others were just like, I don't give a shit. I just want to drink and party and blah blah blah. It just depended on what you had, and some of the ones that were just taking it for granted are the ones that hit it big, and the ones that were busting their ass got nothing, got nada. It's like, oh, that sucks. And you know, oh, I was going to tell you too. I seen where the guru had a guy from Rock's Gang on his show the other day. Remember when I couldn't think of that name of the band we were talking
Yeah,
about?
was that who it
And
was?
Rock's Gang, Box of Rocks. You know that album we listened to. Yeah, we'll just say we listened to it. I don't want to get too watch a few episodes back. Well, last year, something that episode. But yeah, and there's so many bands that got swallowed up because just going like to that guy's channel, I don't know half these bands he's talking about,
Yeah.
and I never heard of Wild Side, never heard of them. So I mean, yeah, I missed a lot in the '80s. And I missed even more probably in the '90s, and then I miss a shit ton every day now that people talk about. And
Well, the good part is there's channels like Guru and Crash and Hairband Basement, all these guys that are still keeping that music alive by
yeah,
still promoting this stuff. So, you know, that's all it takes
yeah,
sometimes is somebody to help push what you're doing. You know what I mean?
yeah. Like, and even Guru said he had a reel or something. I saw it was a short little video, like 30 seconds, talking about bands from back then, the '80s and stuff. When a new music comes out from a band in the '80s, you kind of hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
So it's like that made it. You know, that's my thinking too. When I hear, say, Rat or Y&T or somebody's coming out with a new album, I'm going to be erring on the side of caution because it's like It's like when Dawkins came out, when Heaven Comes Down came out.
Yeah.
I was afraid to listen to it because I was like, is it going to be bad? Because I don't want to have any bad feeling about Dawkins. I want to live in, the Lock and Key and Tooth and Nail and Beast from the East. I want to live in that era in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't want an album to come along and fuck it up. It wasn't the greatest album, but I have heard it a few times. Some of the music is good, and some, I mean, it's good enough to not wreck the legacy. Put it that way. It's not going to make me say, "Oh God, Dawkins really shit." It just wasn't as good as everything else. It's not up to the par that I put them on, the pedestal I put them. But there's some songs on it was pretty good. I think there's one called I don't want to get it wrong, but I thought it was like Refugee or something. Damn it, it's gonna make me mad. The video came out like a year ago,
Yeah.
and I saw the video and I was like, that one wasn't terrible. That video was even okay. And it's just like I just don't want to have that bad last album come out. So anytime I hear a band I really liked back in the day come out with new stuff, it's kind of like, you know, hope. Yeah, like you said, I'm on a hope. but I got to prepare for the shit show.
Yeah.
And there's some that surprised me. You know, when Autograph came out with a new album, what, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, they were just getting ready to come out with a new album when they played the festival up in Lima,
Yeah.
and that album was pretty good. I mean, I went and listened to it when it came out because they had mentioned it. Now, did it go in my rotation or downloaded? No, but it wasn't like, oh my god, atrocity. It was still pretty solid for being an '80s band putting out new music. Get lucky sometimes. Other times you don't. You know, the new Bruce Dickinson, I think, is better than the new Iron Maiden.
Wow.
I like the Mandrake project better than I did the last Iron Maiden. It's just it's same singer, but it's just a little bit different musically. And I mean, I just liked it a little better. It's not saying I think Iron Maiden's at the end. Just okay. Sometimes you need to hear a different take on the singer's, you know, what he's doing on the side.
Well, I mean that goes for any fucking album that's coming out, whether
Right.
it's old hair metal or what. It's you always it's always a fucking crapshoot. So
True, but
at least we're out of that era where if you wanted to hear this, you had to catch it on the radio, catch a single on the radio,
yeah,
or you had to go buy the fucking CD or the album or the tape, and now you wasted your fucking money on something that might suck or might be good. Uh,
yeah.
those days are
I mean,
gone.
it's always a crapshoot, but yeah, it's a lot easier to pop on and listen to it and say, "Oh, that wasn't as good as the last album," so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna download it. But you know, truthfully, dude, you get the upgraded version of Spotify, you don't matter. You can download every piece of crap you want, but it takes up files on your
Well,
gigabytes and stuff.
yeah,
So
that's
it's
what I'm
like, yeah,
saying.
I'm still very picky, but there's some that I've downloaded just for a song because I was in a hurry or something. And I don't own any Motionless in White album, but there was one song that Caleb from Beartooth sang on it. I was like, you know, and I had to go to the bathroom and figure what. And I just like, oh, I'm just going to download it. I'll listen to it later. And I downloaded it so I wouldn't lose where it was at or whatever. And I said, well, and I think maybe it wasn't the bathroom. Maybe I had to go somewhere. But, you know, that was funny
Okay.
because a couple days
Now.
later, a couple days later, my daughter texted me and said, listen to this song. It was from that album that I hadn't heard yet because I'd only heard the one song. But it was a different guy singing. The singer from Knocked Loose was singing on this. The breakdown and it was incredible. I was like, man, I downloaded that for something else and never heard it. And I missed that completely. So there's shit downloaded I haven't listened to yet. I just downloaded it because I see it or whatever. So that's beautiful that you can do that. Almost makes you take advantage of it. It's like, oh, I'll listen to it later. Then you
Yeah,
might
but
never, and you
who's
miss
the
out on
fucking
shit.
victim? Who's the victim? The platform is are you're taking advantage of
No,
what? The service
no,
is there.
yeah, no. I'm saying that I take advantage of it because I download it, but I don't listen to it. That's what's stupid. It's like I just download it because it's easy and it's there and it's available. But then it might sit and never be heard. It's like, well, I wanted to listen to it or I wouldn't have downloaded the fucking. So it's like, why do I download all this shit and then it gets lost in the mix? You know, and it's like I had to have somebody text me and say, "Oh, here's a song." I was like, "That album sounds familiar." Well, fuck, I already downloaded that album. I just haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah, but
And
that's
it's like,
saying more about you. That's saying more
yeah,
about you.
yeah, I'm saying I screw it up. That's what I'm saying. I take advantage of all because there's a million of them,
Yeah,
and I just download. But instead of downloading something I really want to hear and I'm going to listen to it today, like you used to do when you went to the record store
yeah,
and got in
yeah.
line and got your little cassette. You know, I got to listen to it on the way home. It's a big deal. Now it's just like, oh, maybe I'll listen to it next fucking year or two. And it's like you miss a lot because you just take it. I take it for granted that I know it's sitting there I'll
Yeah.
listen to it eventually. And some of it might be the best shit of the year, and I just, yeah, didn't take time to listen to it because I knew it was there.
Yeah.
I don't get I just don't get as excited about new albums coming out as I used to,
Well,
because it's like, yeah, I know I can listen to it whenever I feel like.
you're putting it in that little box, your little box,
Yeah,
instead
yeah,
of like stashing it in a fucking in this big carrier that holds all your CDs, and
yeah.
you just throw it in the
No,
box and fuck
and
ah
it's weird because most people listen to more music in, like, say, the wintertime. I listen to a shit ton more in the summer because I'll go out to the river spot and I'll have my phone and put on my wireless Bluetooth
yeah.
and play stream albums all day long from morning till night. And I'll just put it on shuffle and it'll play a song from this album, a song from that album, whatever. And
So
it's like I listen to a lot more of that.
so basically, what you're telling me is you listen to more stuff in the summer to be able to give
Yeah.
reviews than what you do.
Well, unless I know something new comes out that I like. The new Ginger album came out. Yeah, I was all
Yeah,
over that. Now there's a new Spirit Box. I think comes out April. I thought somebody said April 7th. I'll jump on that.
yeah.
But and the new Ghost. I'll listen to those three because there are three I'm interested to see how they came out. But yeah, there could be a million other ones come out, and I'll be like, oh, I'll listen to
Well,
it sometime.
at least you're getting better at picking up stuff and listening to it because we gotta, do a show or talk about something. So
Well, yeah, only specific though because I love a lot of bands. Like I love these Architect, and like I talked, Architects are very good. But could I tell you the name of an album? Nope. I very rarely could tell you the name of the song, but when I hear them, I know who it is, and
yeah,
I dig the vibes, I dig the music. But it's like I don't go download every Architects or Wage War and all that. I love when I hear them, but I just happen to hear them through the shuffle or hear them on YouTube or TV or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, I like it, but I don't. I'm not obsession about it, and I
Well,
probably need to.
I've listened to more music in the past 2 years than I do casually. Like putting on the radio or something on the way to work. So that's my homework time. When Mikey
Yeah,
says you need to listen to this, okay, that's when I'm listening to all this stuff, and it's basically homework. So
yeah, and it's
so
not
you don't go in blind.
that, and then a lot of times for me, it's just I know I can listen to it on the run. Like when summer, another reason I listen to more in the summer is because I like to put the headphones on and walk when I do walk or go to the gym or whatnot.
Yeah,
So I can put a new album on and at least get an idea if it's cool. Because if I really like a lot of parts, I'll say, oh man, this one I might have to sit down and listen to
yeah,
at night. When my wife wants to watch TV, or she don't watch TV much, but even when we're just sitting there chilling, I can put it on my headphones and listen to it. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to listen to it, but to listen to a whole album, I got to be excited about it. And it's like it's probably a bad thing because I'm sure I miss a shit ton of songs that are really good. And we start talking about bands we used to listen to in the day. There's a bunch of albums from 80s and 90s bands that I have never heard, that I
well,
didn't know existed. The Boston Fiasco
yeah,
that I talked about.
yeah,
Three albums that I didn't know existed from Boston. I'm like, what? Well, where the hell did I miss this shit? And it's like I went back and listened to them. I didn't miss as much as I thought, but the initial shock was, oh man, I missed some great shit. I missed some good stuff. Yeah, great. No, but yeah, good enough to where it didn't tarnish their legacy. And that's just how it is sometimes. Got to roll with the punches.
yeah.
There's some new stuff coming out that I'm sure that I'll start getting I try to check new releases, but sometimes you miss them.
Well, and
Like the
and
Offspring.
at least we go to shows too. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
We have the
yeah,
opportunity to go catch a show and say, okay, and concert season is getting ready to start again for us in this area.
yeah. I like
So,
it a lot better. I hate dry. I hate in the wintertime. I hate even risking it because you never know what the weather's going to be. That's aggravating. So it's like if you know from April to October, going to be you might get some rain, you might get but very more likely than not, unless it's a pure outdoor show with no shelter, then it's going to be a decent show to go to.
well,
But
yeah.
I've gotten soaked in the last couple of years and a bunch of times, and I lived through it. But I just, it's just more enjoyable in the summer anyway
Well,
for me.
and you get to hear bands, especially since you go to more festivals. I mean,
Right.
I like to go to a venue, see a show, and say, okay, it's this band, and you might not have heard of two of the bands, but you know who you're going to see, and then that's your exposure if you're not on your phone looking through videos. So for me,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's where I see these new bands or somebody I've never caught before and go, oh well, now I'll go check it out. But
Yeah.
that's
I never like the ghost thing we talked about earlier. If they said no phone, that wouldn't bother me at all. I can listen. I can be at a whole show without a phone, but some people, I mean, they just if they're not interested in an opening band or whatever, they'll be on their phone, and I don't blame them. I mean, if I'm not interested in something, yeah. But most of the time, the tours have been pretty good lately. I mean, usually there's at least two out of the three bands or so are usually pretty good, and there's some stacked ones coming. Like 3 Days Grace is with doing 3 Days Grace, Disturbed, and Seven Dust. So I mean, there's all three pretty solid bands there. The Deftones are going out. They got a good opening. I forget who it is now, but they have good opening band. The Offspring had a good opening act. It's like so all these bands are kind of knowing where the. There's not a whole lot of unknowns right now. There's like every band's got it going out. It's got a little bit of a backing to it, which sucks for the unknowns, but they're hitting the clubs pretty hard. I mean, they're
yeah,
hitting the clubs pretty hard. So that's where you got to go. You got to work your way up. It's just like anything else. Can't all. Deadlands is the one that played. They played Louder Than Life 2 years in a row, and then they started out right out the gates there. I mean, that's a pretty big deal to play, big festival, but not there this year, sadly. Damn it. But take
well,
what you can get.
Sonic Temple. There's a bunch of metal bands, like hard metal bands that I never listened to, that are going to be
Yeah,
there on that Friday, and I'm like going, I'll actually get a chance to catch some of these bands, and I might
yeah,
dive into it. You know what I mean?
yeah. You never know. I mean, there's you'll like your old school, but you also get a taste of newer music, and some of it might surprise you. Some of it you might say it's as bad as I thought it was going to be. You never know.
Yeah,
There's some that I think that way too. There's some new bands that I just can't get into. It's like it's just how it is. But at least I get to see for myself. Like
yeah,
when I got to see Amon Amarth, I'd never sat down and listened to whole albums of Amon Amarth. But when I went and seen them, they were that good. I was like, well, man, shit, I'm going to listen to a couple albums of these guys. And it was pretty damn cool. I mean, they had a nice vibe to them. And it's like, so yeah, that was a new one for me. I knew Cannibal Corpse. I knew Obituary. Frozen Soul was an unknown. They were okay, but I didn't run out and get their CDs or anything, but they were good. So it's like, and they were good enough to be on that tour. I mean, they were definitely good enough. So it's different, man. It's like music's a fickle lady.
well,
It's particular, and I'm particular about what I listen to, but I listen to a big variety of stuff. It's got to be done well, I guess.
Well, let me see. Looks like Friday Sonic Temple lineup. So headliners Metallica, uh, Rob Zombie, Alice Cooper. I've
Yeah,
seen Mastodon, Cannibal
yeah,
Corpse,
mm,
Suicidal Tendencies. I have not seen Suicidal.
yeah. They're good. They'll
Testament,
be good.
Testament,
Yeah,
Hate
I get
Breed,
them too.
Hate
Hate breed,
Breed,
I get. Yeah,
Exodus, Overkill, Whitechapel, Black Dahlia Murder, Armored Saint. I've seen them. Uh, Dead Heat, Upon a Burning Body, Frozen Soul. So I mean these are all the newer bands. It looks like 200 Stab Wounds.
yeah. The smaller ones, the small stages down there at the bottom, they'll be the newer bands or the bands that are just not high enough level. But yeah, most of those I've seen, so they're all pretty good in concert.
Well,
They are.
I'm looking
Should
forward
enjoy
to
it.
seeing Zombie and Suicidal and Exodus and Overkill and Testament. You know, those are some bands I've never ever seen. So
Yeah,
I'm looking
yeah.
forward to that.
I
Cannibal
haven't seen
Corpse, Mike.
Hatebreed.
You've never
Cannibal
seen?
Corpse is dead. I haven't seen Hatebreed. I've never seen Hatebreed. That's going to be one we both get to see this year.
Nice. So
But
that's
yeah,
something to look forward to.
Cannibal Corpse is not as bad as you might think. It's not going to fit for you musically, but the stage is it's pretty cool to watch the front man and stuff. And
Yeah.
a lot of
Okay.
people, the way they react to Cannibal Corpse is cool. George likes to talk, tell little stories. He'll probably tell some stories before a couple songs. So yeah, they're just legendary as far as their music for that genre. But they make it. I think it'd be tolerable for you. I'm not all into deathcore either, death metal either. But it was I was ready to watch them for sure, and but it was good. You'll like it. You'll
Oh,
like
that's
the
cool.
show. I'll put it that
Yeah. Oh, Mikey, we're at the 2 hour mark. What do you feel
way.
like
Yeah.
doing? Feel like going anymore, or you want to call it a night, or what do you want to do?
Well, I mean, probably call it a night, I guess, because not a lot of. I don't know if I got anything else more newsworthy to talk about at all right now. Plus, I do have fur children. I guess, I better go attend to them at some point here.
Well, I want to thank everybody that popped in to watch and
Yeah,
Snake out there for
Snoop.
popping in and saying something earlier. And hopefully we'll be able to come back and irritate the hell out of everybody again for a couple hours.
Yeah, yeah. Next time, you never know. We'll have a guest on eventually. We've had a couple without guests, and we've had a couple with guests. So yeah, we'll mix it up, talk about different shit, any music news or show reviews. If we do go to we got shows coming up here in the next couple months. So
Oh yeah,
definitely hit those up.
we got we got Jeff Tate coming. We do.
Yeah, next
Not
month.
us.
Next
Yeah.
month. Yeah, yeah. Next month, Jeff Tate, and I got a couple other oddballs before I go to Rock the Country. I'm going to that this
Oh
year. And
God.
that's bands I have never seen. Two of them, Kid Rock and Nickelback. I've never seen
Yeah.
either one of them. So that'll be
I
different. And then all the other bands there. So
I did catch Kid Rock back in the day, so I was impressed.
yeah, I'll have fun. It's 2 day, thing. It'll be a good time. But that's not till June, so we'll see if I can get anything else before then. See if we could jump back on here or get somebody. If you want to be a guest and you're out there, if you're a musician or you're just a music lover and you'd like to be on screen and talk with us, let us know.
Yeah.
We'd be glad to have a guest on that just wants to shoot the breeze and talk about whatever music style you're into and argue with us or agree with us or talk about whatever the hell you want, related to music or not related to music. I don't care.
Exactly.
So I'm willing. I'm willing to talk. I talk pretty much. That's my job now. I just talk, usually to myself
Well,
in the basement. But yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's like yeah. I mean, yeah. Just anytime people want to hook up, come on. You've got a new album coming out. If you're a band, you want to talk about it a little bit. Jump on for 20 minutes, half hour. You don't have to be here the 2 hours if you don't want to, and we can do that. We'll
and
make arrangements for that. So
you always can catch us on X and Rumble all the time. And if I ever get my YouTube stuff figured out, then then we'll be on YouTube.
yeah, yeah. I mean that's
I
unfortunate
dropped the
today,
ball.
but
I'm sorry, guys. So I
it
might put up a
happens.
replay or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, to put up a replay and then you can watch it if you only got to catch part of this one. You want to watch the whole thing. You got multiple options for that. So
All
yeah,
right.
I'm good times.
All right, X. Rumble. It was good catching you guys. Thanks for tuning in. This is
Yeah,
Moshmen Live. Join us again soon. See ya.
peace out.